What is going on, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today I am going to be doing my first and only House analysis for the U.S. House of Representatives. Next week, next Tuesday, we are going to be broadcasting live for the 2018 midterm elections, where all 435 seats are going to be up for grabs in the U.S. Senate. What we are going to be looking at is a very, very good chance for the Democrats to take back the House from the Republican majority. The Republicans have about a 20-seat majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, but there's a most likely scenario where the Democrats will gain at least 20 seats. More likely, according to 538, we are looking at the most likely scenario of a gain of 225 or a gain of 30 seats to 32 seats. The average and median is 35 to 36. So it is a very good chance in polling matters for the Republicans to lose the House of Representatives. In probability matters, we are looking at an 82.7% chance of the U.S. House flipping to Democratic control. And this is a very bad sign for the Republicans, because the House of Representatives controls a lot of aspects of the federal government. The House of Representatives launches investigations. They can have the ability to call up impeachment proceedings against the President of the United States. The House of Representatives also has the ability to block any sort of funding bill which would basically try to fund certain aspects of Trump's agenda, including Trump promises in which he promised to give the people the wall, which would be built on the U.S.-Mexico border. Funds for that would be cut. So, but the problems don't start there. I do believe even if the Democrats do gain a majority in the House, I do believe that that there are still going to be problems for them. I think there is going to be a sort of civil war between the Democrats and the progressive Democrats. There are more progressive Democrats that are going to be taking House seats, and in a certain sense of them unifying to try and take back the House from the Republicans, this is going to be a good sign. But after they win, there are going to be a lot of problems for the Democratic majority. And we're going to do a full analysis of that after we cover the midterm elections, which I would probably release that in between November 7th and November 9th of the following days. So in any case, I will be going to doing full analysis of the elections afterward, and we're going to definitely cover it during the election. This is going to probably be the biggest live stream I will ever hold. Hopefully you guys will actually be interested in watching it, but in any case, we're going to go ahead and start going on for what we are going to be talking about tonight. So we are looking at a House of Representatives that is going to be very colorful in a sense of wording. We are looking at a lot of districts that are impending on flipping, and that are more likely to flip in any case. We are looking at districts such as New Mexico 2nd. We are looking at districts such as Arizona 2nd, which is where Martha McSally is actually originated from. They are going to be solid Democratic. They are solid Democratic, 95% chance that the Republican will lose, and it is a very sad day for the Republicans in Arizona too. We are looking at places such as North Carolina 9, North Carolina 13. They are more likely to go toward Republican control, even though It does say right here that North Carolina 9 is going to go toward Democratic control. However, this has actually been pretty close ever since September 29th. We are looking at a very good chance for the Republicans to actually win in this area, but that does not cast out the fact that there are races that Democrats are losing in, which is going to be an example, Minnesota 8 and Minnesota 1. These races were democratically controlled in Democratic Minnesota, and now they are impending on flipping to the Republican control. The Democrats in Minnesota 1 have kind of recovered. However, in Minnesota 8, it is a lost cause. In New York, we're looking at New York 22nd, which is actually in Republican control, and we are looking at Democrats taking New York 22 and New York 19. These districts are more likely to flip to Republicans because of the disapproval that New Yorkers have for the President of the United States. And this race is not a race of policy by the Democratic Party. This is not a race of who should be controlling which house. This is a race about Donald Trump. And it has been like that ever since he announced his candidacy in June of 2015. And it's always been that way. We are looking at races that are being judged solely because of the support that the candidates have for Donald Trump. A lot of these races, including in districts in such safe Republican states such as the state of Utah, of all places, looks to be a one district in Utah 4. The Republicans are actually at a disadvantage. They have the incumbent advantage, but we are looking at a race that is probably going to go toward the Democrats because just recently, this was so close, and just in the final days of October, we're looking at a 50-50 chance of the Democrats or the Republicans winning. They have no idea who will win, and it's going to be a very close race in Utah 4. Recent polls that came out had the Republicans ahead. All these polls until October 11th. And October 11th came around, 0.7 lead for the Democrats, 3.9 point lead in an adjusted margin for the Democrats. Even in House effects, even with a positive Republican House effect, 3.9 points in Democratic favor. We have races such as Iowa 3. David Young might actually lose his race in Iowa, which in Iowa of all places is so Republican. However, it is a flip state. It did vote for Obama in 2008 and 2012 by a considerable margin, and then flipped toward Republican votes in 2016, which it did vote for Donald Trump. In this area, where a Republican incumbent, he is projected to lose by several points. And it's just not a good day for the Republicans whenever November 6th rolls around. We are looking at a maybe, not even a maybe. In my prediction, it is at least an 85% chance that the House will flip toward Democratic control. And my reasoning of this is because I believe that the popularized effects of the House, how it's more likely a representation of the people, which is actually supposed to be. The Senate is completely different. If you guys want to, I can do like a whole thing about the differences between the House and the Senate before the elections roll around. I may actually do that. But basically, the House is the congressional district of these areas. In, for example, Texas 26, which Michael Burgess represents. He's running against Lindsey Fagan. However, Burgess is the incumbent. Texas 26 represents Denton, Texas. Texas 30 represents Dallas, Texas. In a lot of these areas right here are very, very. Some of these areas are actually just completely. Where are we? All right. California 12, that's Nancy Pelosi's district. What's a good example of what I'm trying to talk about? Some of these districts actually don't represent cities. You can represent like a bigger city, something like that. But like Pennsylvania 4, 5, and 1 all represent Philadelphia. All those districts represent Philadelphia and its suburbs. Well, actually, all these areas, yeah, that's Philadelphia right there. There's a couple of districts, just like New York 14, which is where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is actually going to be competing in, and she is a very likely pick for the voters. 31.1% turnout rate is projected in New York 14, where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is projected to win by a considerable margin, 79.5 to 16.8. That is a huge margin of victory for Alexandria Ocasio. Joseph Crowley is actually running as an independent, and he's projected to get 3.7% of the vote. Just look at all this blue right here, by the way. You're going to see a lot more blue in 2019. This is just how it's going to go. A lot of you guys, and I know some of you guys actually did think that I am actually biased for the Republicans, and I at least try to be honest with how I try to project things. I don't try to insert my own politics whenever I try to make projections and stuff like that. The reason I put the Senate into Republican hands is because I believe that the Republicans are more popular in these races such as North Dakota, Texas, Tennessee, stuff like that. We are looking at a House race that is absolutely no way of the Republicans winning. There is a very slight chance that they can win. I think it will be a victory for both sides if the Republicans can keep their majority, but they will have a razor-thin majority. And in my prediction, I'm not going to make a map in this. I've recorded this earlier, and then I tried to make a map, but I just don't think a map would easily represent this. I think I'm not going to make a projection of how many seats I think the Republicans will win. However, I will make a general aspect of how they will win. I think in between, I think the Democrats can at least get away with the 220 to 230 seat advantage. The Republicans will have, if they win, will have their seat majority diminished by about 20 seats. 20 seats would flip, and then they would have maybe 218 to 220. They would have just over the majority number, and they would have no room for error at all. Ever. They would never, ever have to lose a vote, because they would fail at everything they tried to do. And President Trump would probably become a lame duck president. However, President Donald Trump is not going to be a lame duck president, because he will still have the Senate in his control. And this is going to be a very good day for Donald Trump if the Senate stays in Republican hands. If he loses both houses, that will be an absolute devastating day for Republican lawmakers and the President of the United States. There will be no margin for error in any party. The Democrats and the Republicans will nearly have at least 10 to 15 vote majority in their area. The Republicans, if they actually win in this race, I think they will have at least a 5 to 10 vote margin. And that's my pick and choose on that. However, I'm thinking that if they can at least do it, I mean, if I think it would be worse for the Republicans if Texas 23 was going toward the Democrats, which actually it was. I mean, this was actually a district that was actually considered a battleground in some cases, in some maps. However, Texas 23 is returning to Republican hands because the Republicans are just more of a attractive party in Texas. There are a lot of differences between Texas and California. You're not going to find a lot of differences a lot of similarities between congressional districts in California and Texas. You maybe can find a similarity between California 8 and Texas 13, but you're not going to find a similarity between Texas 26 and California 40. That's just not going to happen. But my point is that that's just how my forecast is going to go. I'm not going to make a specific aspect of how I think the Republicans will win or how the Democrats will win. All I know and all that I can actually project is that the Democrats will win. And that is because President Donald Trump is unpopular. And you can try to spin it, and I'm even seeing people such as Wolfpack. There's a YouTuber named Wolfpack that actually basically says, he makes all these Senate analyses, and I mean, I did do the same thing where I was making a lot of these Senate analysis videos where I was basically saying, this is how it's going to go. I almost exclusively did the Senate, and I never did the House, which I kind of regret doing that because now we're out of time. We are now 1 week from today from the federal election of the United States, and I didn't do one House analysis, and I'm sorry for that. So this is going to be my first and only House analysis for the 2018 midterms. However, people who try to do these analyses, and then they have this just complete obvious bias that they try to insert into their analysis is completely BS. And I think that it is unfortunate that people such as Wolfpack and a couple of other YouTubers that I've seen, I can't really name them. Let's Talk Elections is a completely different example. I think what he does is actually good, and it actually, Let's Talk Elections hit the mark on a lot of these election analysis videos, and these election analysis videos would not be as big if it weren't for Let's Talk Elections. So I give props to him for that. However, people such as Wolfpack and people such as people just who insert their politics into these analysis videos, I think that is just completely unfortunate that they at least show their bias. If they have a bias, try not to show it, because I mean that's just completely disregards your point, and it just makes you biased. And I mean, I saw his Senate analysis, and he gave like a 56 seat advantage, with Montana even flipping toward the Republicans. And I just think that is completely false, because there's just no way. Like, I mean, I think Jon Tester will win by just maybe 2 to 4 points, but I don't think that Jon Tester will lose his election, because he even supported Brett Kavanaugh. He just couldn't vote for him. Which you could make the argument that Jon Tester didn't want to vote for Kavanaugh because he didn't want to lose support in Montana. However, that is a completely different discussion. But guys, if you actually liked this House analysis, I could have gotten a little more detailed on this. However, it is going to be this is going to be it, honestly. So guys, if you guys want to see more of this, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. I'm going to make 1 or 2 final Senate analysis videos. I think I'm going to make my final election analysis and prediction 1 day before the election. And you guys are going to see that right then just before the election, and we are going to review over those analysis and predictions after the election to see just how accurate I was. So, guys, if you guys like this, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Please join me on November 6th at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time to join me and Zach Z, who is now joining my election podcast on November 6th to cover the U.S. federal elections for the midterms of the United States. We are going to cover the governorships, the House of Representatives, the Senate, and various congressional districts that are going to be up for grabs in 2018. So guys, if you guys are going to be there, make sure to leave a like and make sure to comment to show me your support that you are going to be there and watch my coverage and me and Zach Z discuss the 2018 midterm elections. And if you guys are going to be there, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and go subscribe to Zach Z so he can have some support from y'all too. And guys, make sure to tune in on November 6th for our midterm election coverage, and we will see you guys there.